So, Vincent, you have recently become an investor in Tekadao, or Adaverse has recently become an investor in Tekadao. What made you decide to invest?
Yeah, I see three very important things from Takadao. So the first thing is that I see huge potential for the innovative solution in the personal finance part, right? As I mentioned, right now we already got very huge use case based on stablecoin in cross-border remittance payment part, right? But as I say, it's just the beginning, and there's so much more that we can do. And one key thing is the personal finance, right? Savings, insurance, all these kind of things. And what you do is that you try to make the insurance and savings to the next level, which is decentralized and Web3 way. And I just see the perfect direction and big promising market for this. So this is number one.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome everyone to another episode of Taka Talks. Today we have with us Vincent Lee. Vincent is a product manager, seasoned entrepreneur, investor, and mentor. He has more than 15 years of tech product management and VC investment experience from China, Africa, and the Middle East. As a founding partner of Adaverse, the Web3 accelerator and seed fund, also our investor, Vincent has led the investment of 54 Web3 startups around the globe and also incubated several ventures, including Vibra, Cassava Network, and Nodo. And we'll hear more about Nodo later. He leverages his extensive knowledge to support Web3 startups in product development and business strategy, making an impact in the Web3 frontier markets. So, Vincent, this is the official biography. Tell us the unofficial story.
Great. Hi, Murad. Hi, Shireen. So nice to meet you guys. And thanks for having me here. Very glad to join. And a little bit from my side. Actually, I grew up in China, and I started my career as a product manager since 2008. And believe me, it was so nice journey, so fantastic journey to build innovation and to build disruptive product in the tech space. So I went from Web 1 to Web 2 and now in Web 3. So the whole journey is so fantastic to me. And I witnessed the whole paradigm shift from, the very beginning. And as the founding partner of Adaverse, the interesting thing from my side is that I always look for innovative solutions and also the great founders. And so far, we have made more than 50 investment around the globe. And now we enter into Saudi market. And also it's my pleasure to collaborate with you guys, collaborate with Takadao. And I see it as a very big milestone for myself and also for Aders. And I'm also happy to share all that I have, knowledge, information, and expertise to you guys and also to the whole ecosystem.
Vincent, we always say, founder to founders, we always say the best investors are actually the investors who used to be operator founders. Please share with us a little bit your story as a founder builder. I want to hear, the up and down, and like that we understand a little bit more about you.
We'll be right back after the break.
Taka Talks brings you stories from around the world that will help you understand how crypto and Islamic finance can change our lives for the better. Subscribe and follow us to keep learning.
Yeah, absolutely. As a product manager, I always try to build new things. And I remember the first successful exit from my side is called QToutiao, QTT, which is a news aggregator in China. And I started it by the year of 2015 from zero. And then it just went viral in most of lower tier cities in China. And then by the time of middle 2018, it just got listed in NASDAQ very successfully. So at that time, we made a record of the fastest listing company from zero. And but the thing I want to share here is that before that successful product, we tried many different ideas and we had many failures. So as a founder, the key takeaway here is that we need to keep building. We need to keep innovating. We need to keep finding the new solution. And we need to bear the cost of failure in order to get a very big success. So that is my early stage story. After that, we keep building a lot of Web3 products. For example, the Vibrant exchange regulated in the MCC, and the decentralized Web3 reward system, Cassava network, which already got like more than 500,000 users in Africa. And also Noodle, a social content and social file product, building the big community platforms in Africa and frontier markets. So all of them are with a very good traction right now. So as a founder and a product builder, so the good thing is that we just keep building and we keep exploring the new frontiers and try to deliver value to the market.
That's amazing, actually. I didn't know this about you. I've met you many times, but you never told me your story as a founder. But that is very impressive. I wanted to ask you, you said, you started out in Web 1, you've seen Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. What actually excites you about Web 3? What is different? Because we keep talking about Web 3, but most people don't really understand what is Web 3.
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question. So let me go through very briefly about the whole history. When we talk about Web 1, basically all that you can do is browsing, screening, and you can only read what is there on the website, right? So there's no much interaction. So the perfect example is Yahoo and all the portal website that you can acquire some media and some information, news from it, and that's it. And then when we come to the area of Web 2, we have more interactions. So we can not only just read, but we can also post, we can write, and we can comment, we can interact with people. So the perfect example is Facebook, the social media network, right? Where people make connections and they can interact with each other. And then we see the bottleneck of Web 2, which is the major platform got too big, right? And then basically they are dictating the rules and, they are pursuing their own interests, right? And then if something bad happened from a single user, it's very difficult for him or her to appeal, right? And then we come into the era of Web 3, but we're still in the very nascent or early stage right now. But the key thing here, the big difference between Web 3 and Web 2 is the ownership of the user's assets. That ownership is very, very important. It's very big change comparing to the Web 2 area. For example, based on the blockchain technology and all the wallet infrastructure, decentralized infrastructure, basically you own your own data, you own the assets, you own your own key, your wallet. So everything cannot be shared without your own consent. By doing that, the Web3 economy and the whole landscape can be very interesting for the end users who want to protect themselves. So this is a big change I see from the Web3 and Web 2.
Very cool. Now, tell me about your personal journey to Web3. A lot of people, they started out in Web3 really through Bitcoin and crypto. How was it for you? What made you come into Web3?
Actually, it's a very good question. There are two phases. So the first phase, when I made investments, when I made overseas investment between 2015 and 2018. So I was in charge of one fund called Innotech Capital. At that time, I made investment in Silicon Valley, in India, Southeast Asia, and different places. And that time, I see the emergence of, let's say, cryptocurrency applications, blockchain applications. And at that time, lots of companies were doing payments, right? Bitcoin payments, cross-border remittance, right? And we happen to invest Ripple. It's very famous company right now doing cross-border remittance. And from that kind of investment research and activities, I got to understand the whole thing, right? But at that time, I didn't create or found my own product or build my own ventures. It's just purely investment. And till the year of 2021, when I was doing a lot of business in Africa, I just witnessed, the big drawback or the broken point for the traditional finance system in most of African countries. For example, the devaluation of the fiat currency and the very high barrier to transfer and move money cross-border, and a very hard, very difficult thing to keep and protect personal wealth. So there are many, bad points. I would say the whole financial system was kind of broken in the frontier market, especially Africa. And at that time, I was building some financial solutions like cross-border remittance, like lending company, and different financial solutions as an incubation projects. And I also saw the drawback and also the weak point of the Web2 solution. That made me think about Web3. And at that time, it happened that I have a lot of partners who were already doing Web3, venture building and VC. And that was why I started Vibra, which is the crypto exchange and new generation of payment platform, starting from Africa. But right now it's regulated in Dubai. So the whole journey, you can see that Web3 is not just a concept. Web3 is a solution to some real world issue. So that's the big thing I feel in this area.
So you are originally from China, and then you ended up doing a lot of business in Africa. And today, now you are based in Saudi Arabia, you're in the Middle East. And tell me, how is it that you see the Web3 in each of these markets? Are they the same? Do they solve the same problems for everyone? Or is it a different set of problems that each market addresses?
Yeah, actually, it's a very nice question. Basically, we can divide the whole region or the whole global area into three parts. The first part is United States, Europe, and Southeast Asia, where the crypto native projects and ecosystem are very active. So the regulation is going to mature, and the motivation of users are very big, so that they are very actively participating into all this Web3 concept and projects. What we can see from this region is a lot of applications like gamify, DeFi, real-world assets protocols, and also we see a lot of hardcore infrastructure like layer 1, layer 2 from this region. It's pretty crypto native. The second market I would see is, let's say, the frontier markets like Africa. In this part, we see that there is real-world issue to be solved by the technology of Web3 and blockchain. Here, we see a lot of not that crypto-native solution, but very practical solution. For example, cross-border remittance, blockchain payment, vertical solutions in different sectors like supply chain, housing, land registration. So basically, here we see founders leveraging blockchain technology to solve real-world issues, especially the broken point of financial system. The third region, I would say, is more regulated market like China and maybe Saudi Arabia, where we still feel the cultures from regulators of the token and blockchain and also the Web3. But we also see a very big and fundamental use case of the blockchain technology itself. For example, let's talk about China. We also have the blockchain solution for the international settlements regulated by the government and enabling all like international export and import. And we also have the digital collectibles platform, also regulated by the government. So the government from China is carefully selecting the use case for the blockchain itself, which is also good. Not to mention the Chinese version of CBDC, which is called DCEP, right? So it's a very big use case in China. So leveraging the CBDC solution, the China government is already doing the test run in some provinces like Jiangsu provinces. So we see all this kind of solution in a highly regulated way, but also making a very big impact. And I feel like the market in Middle East, we also have a different culture and different kind of regulative environment. But we can also find solution and leverage the power of blockchain as a technology to build things, add value to the local use cases. So that is my view on the three different markets, different types of markets.
I want to double down on this question. You mentioned China and also Saudi Arabia in a certain way. How, when we look and we talk with, the pioneer of DeFi, decentralized finance and everything, it's all about having, freedom of owning your own currency and not being tied to a central authorities who can at any given time, take care of your account. How do people, join into this dilemma of trusting a CBDC or, even in Europe, it has been, not welcomed by the pioneer of DeFi. So how do we, how do we work together in order for people to trust this or not trust it? Or should we go completely in a decentralized way of owning your own currency? And I don't even want to discuss some issue regarding salary, temporary salary. I heard story about you might receive at one point your own salary and it's controlled by a central currency, and if you don't spend it on time, it has an expiration date. So, I don't want to be into the conspiracy philosophy, but how do you feel about this? Yeah.
It's a very good question. Actually, there's always debate between centralization and decentralization, right? So from my point of view, there's 1,000 ways to Rome, right? So both paths can achieve good goals, right? So when we talk about the method of centralization and decentralization, the first fundamental thing we need to C is the consensus, right? So where does consensus come from? So let's see the centralized way, right? Let's say the CBDC, DCEP. Actually, there is consensus, right? But the consensus comes from the trust to the government, right? So let's say in China has a very powerful government, right? And to some extent, people trust the government, right? And, then doesn't matter if we use private chain, alliance chain, not that public chain to run all things to solve the issue, right? So it's totally okay because people have the consensus to the government, right? But I also see the limitation from this consensus. For example, if the government cannot control everything or cannot take care of everything, every aspect, because the economy is big and there are many different sectors, right? So what should we do if there are other areas that we don't have the consensus yet, right? And then we see a perfect makeup from the decentralized protocols and mechanisms, right? Just like things that you guys are doing. So another way of consensus comes from the decentralization, actually, right? Where we trust the protocol, right? We trust the smart contract. We trust the blockchain, and we hold our own assets. We get our own ownership, right? So this is another way of consensus. And also on top of this consensus, everything is decentralized and people get what they want, and all the people obey the same rules, which is a smart contract, right? So I see these two things maybe not that in parallel, but both of them can achieve some goals in some areas. So I don't see the conflict. I'm happy to see that they are complementary to each other.
Actually, a very good point that you made. We need both in order to achieve the long-term goal of building this beautiful Web3 space where people can create.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about Africa because it's actually quite difficult for people to understand Africa unless they've actually lived there, and you have spent significant amount of time there. So you mentioned that in Africa there's a lot of issues with the financial system, and actually we've heard many stories about this. There's still the inability for money to cross borders in Africa. You have to, even just for human beings to cross the border, you actually have to leave Africa in order to fly to another country in Africa. So tell me a little bit, have you seen Web3 actually realize the promise and solve those problems? Do you think that the blockchain can actually solve the problems of the financial system? And have you seen it firsthand?
Yeah, absolutely. It's already happening in Africa, right? So I've been there for up to 5 years so far. So I've been incubating several projects from there, and I also invest a lot of company, a lot of Web3 startups from Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, a couple of other countries. So our portfolio companies already cover 9 countries in Africa so far. And quite a lot of them are trying to solve financial issues, financial problems. And quite a lot of them, they're doing the payment, for example, the escrow payment platform, cross-border remittance, solution for small and medium businesses. So to your question, everything is already happening there in Africa, right? And the way they do that is to leverage the blockchain and its biggest use case, which is stablecoin, right? So with the power of stablecoin and transparency of blockchain, it just makes so much easier for people to transfer the assets. Let me give you an example. Before this solution, an ordinary African user, they make the money transfer internationally through World Remit MoneyGram, all those kind of transferring companies. And the transaction fee easily go up to 15, 17%, which is huge, right?
Yeah.
And also
Wow.
it takes more than 1 week, 7 days, 10 days in order to finish or complete the transfer, right? So it's huge cost for African people, right? But right nowadays, with all the blockchain solutions, so the cost could be as low as less than $1, and the time is like seamless, right? Within seconds. And from Adaverse side, we have invested in AfriX, BitMama, Kotani Pay, Phone Bank, and quite many. So all of them are saving this kind of blockchain infrastructure for cross-border transfer issue, right? Some of them, they build their own layer on blockchain. Some of them, they are building like a DeFi protocol for the fiat synthetic minting. Some of them, they're building the DEX layer on top of airtime, right? So there are many solutions to leverage the blockchain technology and stable coin and connect them with the real world. So far, it's just happening and the volume is huge, right? So every day we can see up to $50 million worth of transferring every day in Africa based on the blockchain. But the thing is that this is not the end. This is not the end, right? So right now, this is just happening in the transfer, in the cross-border remittance. But imagine there's so much more huge potential in other areas, like financial areas. For example, the lending, for example, the insurance, for example, the personal finance. There are many others that are ways people like you to provide a valuable solution to the mass market. So it's just beginning from my point of view.
How's the regulator in that respect? So is it really, because we always hear in Africa, the government is also very strict sometimes, and sometimes there is some kind of they're raising their hand and laissez faire, like they say. So how's is really coming from the base? I would say the population is adopting to those kind of solution by hacking it somehow. Is there any regulator regulating basically what they are doing? And my next question is, if the adoption is happening and there's a massive amount of people, let's say, using remittance system, avoiding high fee, this kind of thing cannot retrocede, meaning they cannot go back to what they used to pay. If you increase by $1, even the increase of charging people, let's say now they are paying $1, like you mentioned, and then let's say the government enforce now you have to go through legal, remittance company like MoneyGram or whatever. You go back to 17. Even if you change $1, you might have like people going on the street for that. Is it so? What's happening at that level? Is that they let it happen, or is it gonna? Are they going to regulate later on down the line? What's the regulator doing, if any?
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question. So in general, we can see the regulation is on the way in several African countries because this technology is still relatively new to the government. So we don't, at least from my side, I don't expect regulation to be ready tomorrow, right? And in reality, we see different countries have different levels of regulation or the progress of regulation. For example, let's say from Nigeria, the biggest economy in Africa, we see from this year, the beginning of this year, with the change of the presidency and the party, and then we see the new leader is very keen to regulate and formalize the cryptocurrency blockchain related solution. And also we see a very active Minister of Technology, Bosun, actually one of my good friends. He's also a very big advocate of blockchain technology. And he is constantly having dialogues, conversations with a major player on the ground, trying to formalize this kind of regulation. So it's a good sign to people, especially founders, to that market, right? And apart from Nigeria, we also see things happening in Kenya. We see the government also trying to regulate the industry by adding some kind of tax on the transaction of cryptocurrency. I don't see it very reasonable, but at least the government is moving toward regulation. And when we see the Deep South, which is South Africa, basically we have pretty mature regulative structure where all the institutions, they can easily switch stablecoin to dollars, right, with a very minimum transaction fee. So you see different areas have a different status and progress of regulation. So far, what I can see is that the blockchain technology is so powerful that no government can ignore it, but need to decide to collaborate and regulate it. It's just a matter of time that this technology can become the mainstream in Africa. That's my view.
Yeah, very cool. So let us now switch gears a little bit and talk about Adaverse. So tell us about Adaverse as a fund, and what is the thesis, and what are some of the activities you guys are doing?
Yeah, from Aders side, we are Web3 focused incubator, accelerator, and seed fund. We started from 2 years ago with the back of our Cardano ecosystem. What we try to do is that we do both investment to the crypto native founders, and we also do the investment acceleration to the founders who have substantial experience in Web2 and embrace and try to leverage the Web3 technology, where we do a lot of investment like in frontier markets. We support the Web2 founders to shift and integrate Web3 technology. So besides the investment, we also run the acceleration program and also offering the post-investment support from our in-house team. So we have a team of experts, mentors who specialize in building the utility of tokens, doing the tech development consultancy, building the community, and also offering the listing advisory and fundraising advice. And we tend to make our full effort to the founders and equip them with all the necessary Web3 know-how for them to build a successful Web3 product. And so far, we are entering into Saudi market, and we try to bring all our know-how from international experience to Saudi and add value to the local founders and the local ecosystem.
Is there a specific reason why you entered Saudi?
There are two folds, right? The first fold is that we're quite established in other regions already, right? In Southeast Asia, in Singapore, Hong Kong, and also in Africa, and quite a lot of deals from United States. And we try to find the new frontier market or the new growth for ourselves. That is one. And the second one is that we see a huge potential here in Saudi and Middle East. here the market is big enough. So all the demographic figures, 32 million population, very young, and relatively high consuming power. And also the whole economy is open up. So we have all the good macro environment. And then we also see, especially from myself, I see the openness and eagerness from the local founders trying to build innovation, trying to build disruptive technology here. So I just feel the passion here. And the third thing is that I also feel the huge support from the government. They also embrace the new technology and try to offer the good support to the young founders. So I see it's a perfect market with a huge potential. So in that sense, we really hope that we can also add value and make contribution and witness the growth of Web3 technology here in Saudi.
Very cool. So some of the questions, because we do interact with investors a lot, local investors, Saudi investors, and some of the two questions tend to come up. So number one is, how do you evaluate startups? How do you tell if a startup has potential? What do you look for in a Web3 startup? That's number one. And number two is, how do you exit from a Web3 startup? Is the exit landscape different?
So the first question, how we evaluate a certain deal, right, a certain startup. First, we always treasure the founder, right, the team, because there's nothing to be built without a very good team, right? So first, the team first. We see the founder, if they have a very good experience before, if they have a very good capability building things and good track record before. So this is the first. And second is that we see the product, especially the product market fit, right? Because depending on different market, we need different solutions, right? So like I said, in Southeast Asia, we need more crypto native product. And in China, we need blockchain solution. And in Africa, we need more financial solution, right? So we also need to see the product market fit. And the third thing is the openness to learn new things and adapt new technology. This is also very important because we also see a lot of Web2 founders. They're very good at technology, building product, and getting business done. But they're not that keen to explore the possibility of Web3. And then it's difficult to collaborate. Instead, we see a lot of founders. They're always keen to the new technology and try to leverage technology into their product and solution to solve bigger problems. And I really appreciate that. So from the evaluation side, first the team, second the product, and third the willingness to adopt new technology. And the way we exit, actually, there are different approaches, but basically, you can see us a long-term partner to the founders. So if you see most of VC, the business model and the period is like 7, 8, 10 years, right? Because you need to give time and opportunity to the founders to test and to iterate and to find the right path. So we cannot be too rushy or too worried about the short term. To really have a long-term view. And we hope that we can become the long-term partner to the founders and to the portfolio companies.
In terms of the growth, just to add on this, so we know that 2% of the global population are on chain, okay, which is a significant amount, but still quite small when you look at the rest of the population. And of course, you see now builders building fantastic product, but the user, even though there's a fast growth into the adoption of crypto, as we know, Saudi Arabia now ranked one of the top country in the region with, they say, 20%, 15 to 20% of the people own some kind of crypto or have been on Binance or Rain, whatever. So the adoption is happening globally, but it's still, maybe growing at a double digit. but still it's very far from the traditional Web2. So what's the advice for you when people are building on the Web3 and not able to scale fast enough to get the right amount of people using the platform? And when we go back to venture capital, they're like, oh, we see you have a good product, but yet you're not able to attract enough users because the pool of users are not big enough, and it goes through. So that's why you have to hack it, go through partnership, and maybe develop on multiple chain in order to get enough of attraction. Can you share on that respect, and how can you comfort founders who are trying to build a long-term project without and staying alive, I would say, in that kind of environment as well,
Yeah, actually, it's a very good question. We see some, to be honest, I see some conflicts between the long-term vision and short-term progress, right? Just because we mentioned that we're long-term visionary doesn't mean that we don't care about short-term progress, right? We still need to, aggressively having users on board, right? So that is the job of the founders, right? But you also mentioned a very key issue here, which is that all the technology of Web3 sometimes it's kind of complicated to certain type of users, right? For example, you need to manage your own wallet, you manage your own key, and especially if you do quite a lot of things in DeFi, there's so many complex steps, right? And so my advice is that two things. The first thing is product. The second thing is the community. So for the product side, we need to be very adaptive to the market. It depends on market, right? So if we have a market of very active young people, who are motivated to learn anything and who want to change their lives by doing things, right? So basically, it's easier for you to push for the difficult solutions, right? As a product. Look, Vietnam, Indonesia, and a couple other Southeast Asia countries. So basically, people are very active learning all the new technology because they want to change their life, right? But if you look at other markets, if people are more used to the traditional ways, they're more used to the easier and simpler user interface, you also need to adapt yourself, right? So on the blockchain layer, on top of it, you also need to build a simplified user experience, right? Like the connection between CeFi and DeFi, and the layer of like a easier login instead of the wallet key management things, right? So you also need to adapt yourself and make the user experience simpler for certain type of users. And it's true that you need to see some trade-offs, right? So you need to evaluate between the security trust and also the simpler user experience. So you need to make a balance between these two things. And sometimes it's not easy, right? But you have to make a kind of localized adaptive product for your users. And the second thing is the community building, because there are so many bad things happening in the let's say the crypto exchange, cryptocurrency world, right? So it's very important that as a founder, you need to build the trust through the community and through the community building. And like what you guys are doing is perfect. So you keep educating users and keep engaging with the community members. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know what you're building. And making more and more partnerships and making more and more in-person interactions with the community members. This is also very important because in this new technology, Web3 technology, it's very difficult to acquire users in Web2 ways. For example, let's say digital advertising social marketing, billboards, offline advertisements. So it's not the whole thing doesn't really work in that way. So that's why you need to keep building the communities in different places, different world, and then try to educate users about how you can solve their issues and how you add value to their everyday life. So that is also very important. So first, you have a very localized product and target maybe wider range of users. The second, you keep building the community and let them know what you're building.
Thank you so much for this very interesting and pearl of knowledge, I would say, in that regard. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's actually very good advice. I can tell you from personal experience, building a simple product is a lot more difficult than it sounds, but you have to keep iterating. So, Vincent, you have recently become an investor in Tekadao, or Adaverse has recently become an investor in Tekadao. What made you decide to invest?
We'll be right back after the break.
We believe that the financial system is broken and that our banks and insurance companies don't have our best interests at heart. We've built Techaturn to help us get together as a community to save, earn, and access credit. Join us today and discover how you can grow your savings while helping others.
Yeah, I see three very important things from Takadao. So the first thing is that I see huge potential for the innovative solution in the personal finance part, right? As I mentioned, right now we already got very huge use case based on stablecoin in cross-border remittance payment part, right? But as I say, it's just the beginning, and there's so much more that we can do. And one key thing is the personal finance, right? Savings, insurance, all these kind of things. And what you do is that you try to make the insurance and savings to the next level, which is decentralized and Web3 way. And I just see the perfect direction and big promising market for this. So this is number one. And second is that I also see the uniqueness of the Muslim user group and also your solution to the targeted users. Let's see, there's so much presence of a Muslim group in different parts of the world, right? Middle East, Africa, Southeast Asia, China, but there are very few dedicated solutions to them in terms of new technology, Web3, blockchain technology, right? So I see huge gap and huge demand in the market here, which you're trying to solve. It's a very good thing. And the third thing is about your team, right? So I see a very capable, experienced team with solid experience in startup and tech that makes me very convinced and also confident that you can build the next generation of product based in Web3. So it's a very natural decision to me.
Thank you so much. If you could see, I'm blushing now, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Very, very, very detailed answered. As always, I really like the way you approach and you answer question, Vincent. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, last message that you have for the founders in Saudi Arabia in GCC region who want to reach out to Adaverse, what should they do in order to become some projects that will be interesting to Adaverse to invest in?
Look, so if you see from Aders side, so what we got is the funding to kickstart, the post-investment support through acceleration, and also the resources for regional expansion and international investor connection, right? So these are the maybe three things that we can offer and add value to the founders here in the GCC or Middle East. What we expect from the founders is the key thing that they can find the market demand here, and they can build the solution for the local market. That is very important. With their own insights and knowledge about this market, I believe that the great founders can always find the market demand, find the user requirement, and find the perfect solution for them, leveraging the technology of Web3. So if founders have this kind of great ideas and believe that they can change the status quo and add value and solve the issue of users here in Middle East, it's always welcome to connect with Adaverse, and then we can further discussion and also see how we can collaborate.
Fantastic. And what is the best way for people to reach out to you or to Adaverse?
Yeah, basically we have all the presence, the email, the website, and we have the application link on the website. The website is adaverse.co. And also we're active on LinkedIn and Twitter and different social media. So by all means, so people can reach out to our team. Yeah.
Shout out to Off-Chain Riyadh. So if you guys are in Riyadh at the next Off-Chain event, you can also come to the Off-Chain event, and usually Adaverse has a presence there. So you can speak to somebody from Adaverse at the next Off-Chain Riyadh.
So basically, Adaverse is also supporting initiative here in Saudi Arabia. So they have teamed up with Off-Chain, which I'm part of, also of co-founding members of Off-Chain. They support us with their network engagement. So we welcome the community from Riyadh, from Jeddah, from Bahrain. I know there's a lot of Bahraini listening to the podcast, from people from Dubai as well. If you stop by into Riyadh, join the next Off-Chain, co-hosted and co-supported by Adaverse as well. So, and any founders, don't bother, don't jump pack the email of Vincent, because I'm sure he's receiving tons of emails. You can always drop me a link for a soft introduction. Also, as a founder to founder is always good. You can drop me a note, and I can try to pass the deck or pass your information to the team at Adaverse. And again, we welcome them here to Riyadh, and looking forward to the next big things that they're gonna showcase soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Murad.
Thank you so much, Vincent.
Shireen. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.